Good morning, children. How are you? I hope you all are fine. And have you had your breakfast in the morning today? Okay. So you all are promoted to fifth grade, is it? Last year, yes, you have studied in fourth grade, and now you have been promoted to fifth grade, is it? So you have grown up a little bit. Am I right? Okay. So this is your first English class in this year, is it? Okay. So don't miss any class and study everything properly from the beginning itself. Okay. From the beginning itself, every notes and every book back exercise, write down properly and study it properly. Okay. So you have four books in English, is it? Last year, previous year also you had four books, and this year also you have four books, is it? So have you bought your books? Okay. Those who haven't bought it, buy it soon. Okay. See here, this is your new pathway book, and in this book you have lessons and poems. Is it? Have you opened this and seen? Okay. And then this is your grammar book, Adventures with Grammar and Composition book. And here you have grammar lessons and also many exercises are there in this book. Okay. And then this is your echoes book. Last year also you had it, is it? Okay. So in this you have some stories in the form of conversation. Okay. So in the form of conversation you have some stories in this book. Okay. And then you have a cursive book also, is it? Do you have it? Have you got that? Okay. So don't keep it aside and take it every day and write one page each day. Okay. So that you can improve your handwriting. Okay. So write one page each day in that book. Okay. And so these are your English book, is it? Okay. So today we are going to start our class. Okay. Today we can start our class, and in this class we are going to see a story written by Arup Kumar Datta. Okay. So have you seen that man, Arup Kumar Datta? Have you heard this name? No? Okay. So see here, this person is Arup Kumar Datta. Okay. So this is Arup Kumar Datta, and he is an Indian writer and also a journalist. Okay. So this person is Arup Kumar Datta. He is an Indian man. Okay. He is an Indian and he is an Indian writer and also a journalist. Okay. So he is from the state of Assam. Okay. You know that Assam is in India. Is it? Assam is a state of India, am I right? So he is from Assam, and he has been awarded the Padma Shri award by Indian government in 2018. Okay, not only Padma Shri award, other awards also he has got, but from our Indian government in 2018 he got the Padma Shri award. Okay, so he has written many works, and one among his work is the Crystal Cave. Okay, so many works he have written, and one work is Crystal Cave. Okay, so today we are going to see about this work. Okay, not the full part of this Crystal Cave, only a short story from this Crystal Cave. Okay, not the full book, only a short story. Okay, so this story is of a two brave Nog children. Okay, this is a story of two brave Nog children. They are Tenyak and Changun. Okay, Tenyak and Changun. So these Nog means, have you heard this word Nog? Okay, so have you heard tribal people? Okay, so they live near forest, is it? So these tribes are called as Nog tribes. Okay, so they live in the river bank of Arunachal Pradesh. Okay, so in the side of the river they live. Okay, in Arunachal Pradesh, in the state called Arunachal Pradesh, they live in the side of the river. Okay, so see here in this story, um, two children, these two brave children who are all Tenyak and Changun are the important characters. Okay, so this story is based on this two children. Okay, so One day, the grandmother of these two children gave some broth to taste. Broth means soup, okay? So she gave some soup to taste. And when the children, the both of the children, Tenyak and Changun, when they tasted it, they found it tasteless, okay? So what they did, they told to their grandmother that the soup was not tasteful, it is tasteless, okay? So suddenly the grandmother, what she did, she took some salt and she added it to the soup and she mixed it. And after that, when she gave it to the children, the soup was very delicious, okay? So the children tasted it and they told that it was very delicious, okay? So during that time, the grandmother, she remembered the story of the village, okay? The past story of the village, and she told that story to these two children, okay? And she told that in their past, the village, they had many salt, okay? So the village was very rich because they had many salt in their village, okay? And now the salt spring was not there, and so the village is poor, okay? So the water, the salt water will flow through their village, and there will be a salt spring. That means a hollow place where the water will be coming and gathering, okay? After some times, what the water will be drained off due to the sunlight, and the salt will be formed there, okay? So the grandmother told the story about the village to this two children, okay? So what the children did, they decided to go in search of the salt spring, okay? So the next day morning, they went in search of that, and they, in the way, they want to cross the forest, okay? Through the forest only they want to go to that place to find the salt, okay? So when they were going through the forest, they found some obstacles like python and also herd of elephants, okay? So by seeing that itself, they were not afraid, and they still, they went further, and finally they found the crystal cave, okay? The crystal cave was filled with salt, okay? Because this village, they get the salt from this cave, is it? The salt spring will be crossing through this cave, and they will get salt due to this cave. Because they are not getting salt for many years, this crystal cave is filled with salt, okay? And what they did, they brought this good news to the village, okay? So they came to their village and they told that they have found the crystal cave, they have found the salt, okay? So this is the summary of this lesson, okay? I have not told it elaborately, just a gist of the story I have told you. This is the summary of this lesson. And have you understood this summary? Have you understood the story? Okay, so you all know that the title of this lesson is The Crystal Cave, okay? And it is written by Arup Kumar Datta, okay? So I have already told you about Arup Kumar Datta, and his work is, one of his work is The Crystal Cave, okay? So we have three main characters in this story. So already we have seen two characters who are all, yeah, the two children, Tenyak and his sister Changul, is it? And the third character is Grandma Kamlong, okay? Another characters, the villagers, the chief, and also Changun's father is also there. But the important three characters, the name is mentioned for these three characters only. The Grandma Kamlong and the two children, Tenyak and Changun. Okay, Tenyak is the brother and Changun is the sister. Okay, so have you understood this? Okay, now you can take your new pathway book and take page number 11 in that. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I will read the lesson. Okay, I will read the lesson clearly, and what you want to do is you want to take a pencil with you and you want to just mark the new words, okay? Have you understood? So, take a pencil with you and also take your new pathway book with you and take page number 11 in that. Okay, are you ready with your book? So, whenever you are coming for your class, bring your books also with you, okay? For English class means bring your English books and English booklets also, okay? So, when you are going to some other class, take that book and booklets, okay? So, keep everything ready with you, okay? So, now you take your new pathway book and take page number 11 in that. I'm going to read this lesson line by line, and what you are going to do means you are going to take a pencil with you and you want to mark the new words. New words means the difficult words that you don't know the meaning. Okay, when I am explaining this lesson, I will say the meaning of that words also to you. Okay, are you ready with your book and also your pencil? Okay, so now take page number 11 and this is your first lesson in your book, okay, the crystal cave. This is the first lesson in your book, the crystal cave, and in the first page, in the page number 11, a starter is given, okay. In this, some information about salt is given because we are going to see about the crystal cave, is it? Crystal cave means the salt, is it? So, in the starter, the origin of the salt and the ways to find the salt, uses of salt, and the need of the salt is everything is given in this starter book. Okay, and then take the next page. I will read for you. The Nok tribes lives in the riverine mountainous district of Tirap in the beautiful state of Arunachal Pradesh. Here is a story of Tenyak and Chankun, two brave Nok children. Taste this, Grandma Kamlong said. This, she scooped out a ladle full of broth from the pan over the fireplace. It smelled delicious. Grandma blew on the bamboo ladle to cool the broth. Then she poured a little into Tenyak and Changun's open mouths. Yeah, exclaimed Tenyak. It tastes awful. Don't like it, do you? Said Grandma with a toothless grin. But watch now. Using the ladle, she scooped up a little salt from a wooden bowl and put it into the broth. She sang a knocked ballad as she stirred. Then she made the children taste the broth once more. Delicious, Grandma, they said, smacking their lips in approval. Magic, isn't it? Grandma said. The broth was tasteless before, but now it is delicious. What caused this miracle? Salt, the children said in chorus. Grandma placed 3 reed mats upon the floor as well as dishes of wood and bamboo tumblers. Ladling out steaming rice and broth on the plates, she said, "That's right, for the knocked, salt is more precious than gold." Our village was rich in the past, continued Grandma. We grew millet and paddy in our fields. The jungles gave us shrubs, ferns, and fruits. Our young men went hunting for meat, and most important, we had salt. Did we make our own salt, Grandma? Changun asked, surprised. Yes, we did. A salt spring used to flow by our village. We built shallow troughs and filled them with salt water. The sun dried away the water, leaving grains of salt in the troughs. So, can you follow me? Are you marking the words with your pencil? Hard words with your pencil? Okay. So, take the next page. Must have been a lot of salt, Tenya observed. Yes, much more than what our village required. Our men stuffed the surplus into hollow bamboo tubes and took it to the plains each winter. They bartered the salt for clothes, beads, and other necessities. But there's no salt spring now, Changan said. Grandma sighed. Our village is poor now. We are no longer self-sufficient. Our men walk to Konza township to buy salt. Did the salt spring dry up? Tenya asked. Yes, it happened one winter years ago. Our source of wealth dried up with it. Why did it dry up? Persisted Tenya. No one knows. Tell me, Grandma, he said. If the spring flows again, will it bring prosperity to our village? Certainly, smiled Grandma Kamla. Later in the afternoon, Tenyak and Changun went to search the spot where the salt spring had flowed into the river. To their surprise, they had no difficulty. The furrow through which the salt spring had flowed was clearly visible. Only ferns and creepers covered the furrow. They could see it wind up the mountain. A ribbon of light green covered the furrow. They, sorry, that line I have repeated it once. Only ferns and creepers covered the furrow. They could see it wind up mountain, a ribbon of light green against the darker green of dense jungles. Tenya cried, "We can follow it upstream." Early next day, after their morning meal, Tenyak and Changun started for their quest. Both had bamboo tubes strapped to their back to carry drinking water in them. They were children of the mountains. The steep climb may have exhausted others, but not them. They were not afraid of the jungles either. Because they live close to the nature, they knew that most of these dangers were imaginary. Only if one accidentally disturbed a wild animal would it attack. So far, they had met with only one obstacle, a large python. But it just raised its blunt hammer-like head, flicked out its forked tongue, and slid away to a higher branch. But halfway up the mountain, a more serious obstacle came their way, the herd of wild elephants, Changun said. Taking care not to make the least noise, they crawled up a little ahead. They could not see the herd. The grey-black hides of the elephants blended too well with the foliage, but the sounds made by the herd as it fed grew louder. Soon it became clear that the elephants had chosen the spot as a feeding ground, so it seemed as if they might stay on for quite a while. There was no question of trying to slip through that herd. Their path upstream was firmly blocked. What do we do now, Tenyak? Changan asked. We wait, her brother replied grimly. The children waited. Apart from the sounds made by the feeding elephants, the jungle was silent. The deep hush was broken only twice by the hawk call of Hulock gibbon and pangolin scampering through the undergrowth. They waited patiently for over 2 hours, and then finally they heard heavy bodies crash through the thick foliage. The elephant herd was on the move. They climbed for an hour and all of a sudden stumbled into a clearing. Hundreds of hoof marks were visible on the ground. There were also some pug marks of wild cats and imprints of elephant feet. Changan cried out, "It is a natural salt lake. Wild animals came to lick the earth for salt. This took care of the salt requirements of their body." The salt spring furrow ran through the center of the clearing for some distance and then disappeared into a hollow. Tenyak and Chankan raced towards the hollow. As they had guessed it was a cave. The sunlight lit up the interior at the cave's mouth. The wall of the tunnel-like cave were coated with white crystals. Heaps of crystal rose like molehills from the floor and dangled like wasp nests from the ceiling. The pure white crystalline heaps glittered in the slanting rays of the afternoon sun. Tenya bent down and picked up a pinch of the crystals, put it to the tip of his tongue. "It's salt," he whispered in wonder. as if unable to believe his tongue. Soon he began to hop about wildly in imitation of a tribal war dance, whooping and shrieking in gay abandon. We have found salt, he cried. Changun crooned, there's enough salt in this cave to last our village 1,000 years. That tunnel-like cave is a natural salt mine. The spring flowed through it, carrying some of the salt away, said Chung. The sun was already halfway down on its journey across the horizon. The children knew that they must hurry back to their village. Though they wanted to locate the salt spring, they knew this was not the right time. They drank the water in the bamboo tubes. Then they placed the tubes upside down on the ground to dry them completely. They packed the tubes with salt, then carrying the treasure upon their backs, they began to descend home. The villagers had meanwhile begun worrying. When they saw the two children descend, the crowd broke out into loud cheers. The children ran excitedly to Grandma Camlong. They shouted, "We have found a cave of salt. Our village will be prosperous again." Unstrapping the bamboo tubes, they poured the salt onto the earth. The heaps glowed in the light of the setting sun. Grandma laughed happily. "Well done, children," the chief said. "Your courage deserves to be rewarded. You too will be the chief guest during the Loku festival." Picking Tenyak up, the chief placed him on his shoulders. Changan's father picked her up and placed her on his shoulders. Grandma Kamlong broke out into a knocked ballad for courage. The villagers sang along and began a grand celebration. Okay, so have you understood this? Whatever I have read? Okay, so today your homework is read this lesson properly. Okay, already I have read it once, and in your home you read this lesson properly, repeatedly you read till you understand. You read not every words, you can't understand every word, still then you read. Okay, and you mark all the new words. Already you would have marked some new words. Still then, while reading, if you find any difficulty in knowing the meaning of the words, mark that. Okay, mark every new words. And tomorrow in the next class, when I am starting this, I will read line by line and I will explain this story to you. Okay, are you clear with this? So what's your work today? You want to read this lesson properly from the beginning till the end, and you want to mark everything properly. Okay, so thank you, students.